A black belt challenged the janitor's daughter to fight as a joke at the regional tournament. Seconds later, her first move left every martial artist in the arena speechless. "Don't touch her." The words came not from Wei Chen, the janitor frozen beside her mop bucket, but from her 14-year-old daughter Mei, standing at the edge of the competition mat with her worn canvas backpack still slung over one shoulder. Derek Thornton, the third-degree black belt who had moments earlier shoved Wei's cleaning cart across the floor in front of laughing spectators, turned with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "What did you say, sweetheart?" "You heard me. Leave my mother alone." The tournament hall went silent. Competitors waiting for their matches stopped stretching. Judges at their tables looked up from their scorecards. A child in street clothes had just challenged a man who wore his reputation like armor. What happened next would be recorded on dozens of phones and shared millions of times, but no recording could capture the electricity in that moment. This is the story of how a quiet girl guarding her family's most dangerous secret changed everything with a single strike. Just before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. We love seeing how far these stories reach, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss tomorrow's special video. Now let's jump back in. Enjoy the story. A quiet girl's promise to her grandfather was about to be broken. For 14 years, her family's secret had been safe, hidden behind ordinary life and careful silence. But today, in front of 300 martial artists at the Pacific Northwest Regional Tournament, that secret would be used to protect the one person who mattered most. The scent of tiger balm and nervous sweat filled the convention center's main arena. It was a place of controlled chaos, a cathedral where bodies became weapons and discipline was worshipped. On the elevated platform, 3 competition mats stretched across polished hardwood, each surrounded by red boundary lines. Above them, banners from dozens of dojos hung like battle standards. The afternoon sun streamed through high windows, casting long shadows across competitors in white Gs, their colored belts marking hierarchies as rigid as military rank. The buzz of anticipation was usually background noise to Wei Chen. At 52, Wei moved with the practiced invisibility of someone who had spent decades being overlooked. For the past 8 months, she had been the convention center's weekend custodian. She arrived 2 hours before events began, her navy blue uniform and rubber gloves marking her as part of the infrastructure, as noticed as the exit signs or fire extinguishers. She would clean the restrooms, empty trash bins, mop spills, and then fade into the margins while life happened around her. Today was the regional tournament, which meant more work, more mess, more hours. But it also meant Mei could watch from the bleachers while Wei worked, and that made it worthwhile. Wei took pride in her work. The floors gleamed under her care, the mirrors in the restrooms spotless, the trash bins emptied before they overflowed. But today was different. She had been mopping near the competition area when her cart caught on an uneven floor tile. The bucket tipped. Dirty water spread across the hardwood in a grey puddle, creeping toward the edge of the nearest mat. Wei's heart dropped. She grabbed towels from her cart, dropping to her knees to soak up the water before it could reach the competition surface. Her hands moved frantically, squeezing towels into the bucket, spreading dry ones across the spill. "Hey, hey!" The voice cut through the ambient noise like a blade. Wei looked up. Derek Thornton stood 3 feet away, his arms crossed over his black GI. His third-degree black belt was tied perfectly, the ends hanging at precisely the same length. At 38, Derek had built his identity on being untouchable. He owned Thornton's Elite Martial Arts Academy, the largest dojo in the state, with over 200 students and a competition team that dominated regional tournaments. His students feared him, his competitors respected him, and people like Wei, people who cleaned floors and emptied trash, were beneath his notice unless they inconvenienced him. "You almost got water on the mat," Derek said, his voice loud enough to carry. Several nearby competitors turned to watch. "I'm sorry, sir," Wei said quietly, still on her knees, still soaking up water. "I'll have it cleaned in just a moment." "You'll have it cleaned now," Derek said. "We have matches starting in 10 minutes. You think we can wait for the cleaning lady to finish her little accident?" Wei's face flushed. She worked faster, her hands shaking slightly as she wrung out towels. Derek turned to his students, a group of 6 teenagers in matching black jais with red trim, all watching with expressions ranging from amusement to discomfort. "This is what happens when you hire the cheapest labor," Derek announced. "No attention to detail, no respect for the space." One of his students, a cocky 17-year-old named Tyler, laughed. "Maybe she should compete, Sensei. Show her what real discipline looks like." Derek's grin widened. "You know what, Tyler? That's not a bad idea." He looked down at Wei, who had finished cleaning the spill and was gathering her towels, her face carefully blank. "How about it? Want to step on the mat? Learn a little respect?" Wei kept her eyes down. "No, sir. I'm just here to work." "Come on," Derek pressed, his voice taking on a mocking edge. "It'll be educational. I'll go easy on you." The nearby competitors were fully watching now. Some looked uncomfortable. Others smirked. This was entertainment, a break in the pre-match. Tension. Wei stood slowly, clutching her towels, her cart between her and Derek like a flimsy shield. "I need to finish my work, sir." Derek reached out and shoved the cart. It rolled 3 feet across the floor, the bucket sloshing, the mop clattering. "Your work can wait. I'm talking to you." That's when May arrived. She had been sitting in the bleachers, reading a book while her mother worked, the way she did every weekend. At 14, May Chen was easy to overlook. She was small, for her age, barely 5 feet tall with straight black hair pulled into a simple ponytail. She wore jeans, sneakers, and a grey hoodie. Her backpack, faded and covered in patches from national parks they'd visited over the years, hung from one shoulder. She had her grandfather's eyes, dark and calm, the kind of eyes that saw everything and revealed nothing. She had watched Derek humiliate her mother. She had watched the crowd gather. She had watched her mother's shoulders hunch in. That familiar way. The way they did when the world reminded Wei that she was invisible. May walked down from the bleachers, across the hardwood floor, and stopped at the edge of the mat. "Don't touch her." The words were quiet, but clear, cutting through the murmur of the crowd. Derek turned, his expression shifting from annoyance to amusement. "Excuse me? You heard me. Leave my mother alone." The tournament hall went silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Competitors froze. Even the judges looked up. Wei's face went pale. "May, no, go back to the bleachers." But May didn't move. She looked at Derek with the same calm expression she'd worn while reading her book, as if challenging a third-degree black belt in front of 300 people was no different than turning a page. Derek laughed, a sound without humor. "This is your daughter." He looked at Wei, then back at May. "You should teach her some manners." "You should learn some yourself," May said. The crowd inhaled collectively. Tyler, Derek's student, let out a low whistle. "Sensei, you gonna let her talk to you like that?" Derek's smile faded. His reputation was built on dominance, on being the alpha in every room he entered. A child had just challenged that in front of his students, his competitors, and 3 judges. If he walked away, he looked weak. If he engaged, he looked petty. His ego made the choice for him. "You want to defend your mother?" Derek asked, stepping closer to the mat's edge. "Fine. Step on the mat. Let's see if you've got anything behind that mouth." "May, no," Wei said, her voice breaking. "Please." But May was already slipping off her backpack, setting it carefully on the floor beside her mother's cart. She untied her sneakers, pulled them off along with her socks, and stepped onto the mat in bare feet. The crowd pressed closer. Phones came out. This was going to be a story, one way or another. Derek stepped onto the mat. Opposite her, his black belt stark against his GI. He bowed slightly, a mockery of respect. "I'll try not to hurt you too badly." May bowed back, a proper bow, deep and sincere, the kind that spoke of years of training. Derek's smile faltered for just a second. One of the judges, an older man with a grey beard and a 6th-degree black belt, stood from his table. "This isn't an official match. If someone gets hurt, nobody's going to get hurt," Derek interrupted. "It'll be over in 10 seconds. May stood in the center of the mat, her hands at her sides, her posture relaxed. She looked impossibly small across from Derek, who outweighed her by at least 120 pounds and had 6 inches of height advantage. "Ready?" Derek asked, not waiting for an answer. He moved. Derek was fast for his size, his front kick snapping out with the precision of thousands of repetitions. It was a textbook strike, aimed at May's midsection, designed to knock the wind out of her and end this embarrassing spectacle. But the kick never landed. Just as his foot was about to connect, May shifted her weight. It was a tiny movement, almost imperceptible, a pivot of her hips and a tilt of her torso. Derek's kick passed through empty air, his momentum carrying him forward off balance. The crowd murmured. Derek recovered quickly, his face flushing. He threw a punch, a straight right aimed at May's shoulder, pulling it slightly because she was, after all, a child. May swayed. The punch missed by inches. Derek threw a combination jab cross hook, the kind of sequence that had won him dozens of matches. May moved like water, each strike passing through the space where she had been a fraction of a second before. She didn't block. She didn't counter. She just wasn't there. The murmur grew louder. Derek stopped, breathing slightly harder, his eyes narrowing. "You've had some training." May didn't respond. "Fine," Derek said. "Let's see how you handle this." He came at her seriously this time. No more pulled punches, a full combination designed to overwhelm. Front kick, spinning back fist, roundhouse kick. It was fast, aggressive, the kind of assault that would have ended most matches. May moved through it like smoke, her bare feet sliding across the mat with perfect balance. And then, as Derek's roundhouse kick extended fully, leaving him momentarily vulnerable, May spoke. "Your stance is too narrow. You're off balance." After every kick, the words were calm, clinical, the tone of a teacher correcting a student. Derek froze, his kick still extended, his face going red. The crowd went completely silent. Tyler, watching from the sidelines, whispered, "Did she just—" "Your shoulders telegraph your punches," May continued, her voice still calm. "You drop your left hand when you throw your right, and your kicks are strong, but you commit too much weight forward. Against someone who knows what they're doing, you'd be on the ground in 3 moves." Derek's hands clenched into fists. His breathing was ragged now, not from exertion, but from humiliation. This child, this nobody, was critiquing his technique in front of everyone who mattered. "You want to see what I can do?" Derek snarled. "Fine." He charged. It wasn't technique anymore. It was rage, a wild haymaker punch thrown with all his strength, the kind of strike that could break bones. May moved forward, not back. She stepped inside Derek's punch, so close that his arm passed over her shoulder. Her left hand shot out open-palmed and deflected Derek's descending arm at the wrist, redirecting his momentum. At the exact same instant, her right hand moved. It was a blur of motion, too fast for most of the crowd to follow. She didn't aim for his head or his chest. She aimed for a very specific point just below his rib cage, the solar plexus, where a cluster of nerves controlled the diaphragm. Her fingers were held stiff and straight like a spearhead. The strike landed with a sound that wasn't loud but was sharp and final, like a dry stick snapping. Derek froze. His entire body went rigid. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He couldn't move, he couldn't breathe. Every muscle in his torso had seized, his diaphragm paralyzed by the precise strike. May stepped back, her hand returning to her side, her expression unchanged. Derek collapsed to his knees, then forward onto his hands, gasping like a fish out of water. His black belt dragged on the mat. His students rushed forward, but stopped at the mat's edge, unsure what to do. The tournament hall was silent, except for Derek's desperate attempts to breathe. May looked around at the crowd, at the competitors, at Derek's students. Her voice was quiet, but carried across the entire space. "Does anyone else want a lesson?" Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The gray-bearded judge stared at May with an expression that was equal parts shock and recognition, as if he'd just seen a ghost. Wei stood beside her cleaning cart, her hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. May walked calmly off the mat, picked up her backpack, and slipped her shoes back on. She took her mother's hand. "Let's go home, Mom." They walked out of the tournament hall together, leaving Derek Thornton on his knees in the center of the mat, surrounded by his students and 300 witnesses. His reputation shattered in less than 2 minutes. What happened in those 2 minutes would be filmed from a dozen angles and uploaded within the hour. By evening, it would have 100,000 views. By the next morning, 10 million. But the real story, the one that mattered, was just beginning. Until now, Mei Chen had been just the invisible daughter of a janitor, a quiet girl who read books in bleachers and never caused trouble. Derek Thornton had been an untouchable champion, a man whose dojo was built on his reputation for dominance. But what no one in that tournament hall knew was that quiet girl carried a secret that had been guarded for 14 years, a legacy that connected her to one of the most legendary martial artists in history. And now, with a single strike, that secret was about to unravel everything. The drive home was silent. Wei's hands shook on the steering wheel of their old Honda Civic. Mei sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window at the passing strip malls and fast food restaurants, her backpack on her lap. They lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a complex that had seen better decades. The rent was cheap because the neighborhood was rough, but Wei kept their home spotless, the same way she kept everything else in her life. It was a refuge, a place where the world's judgment couldn't reach them. Wei unlocked the door, and they stepped inside. The apartment smelled like the jasmine tea Wei brewed every morning. The furniture was old but cared for. On the wall above the couch hung a single photograph in a simple wooden frame. A man in his 70s, lean and weathered, standing in a small backyard garden. His eyes were calm, the same eyes Mei had inherited. His hands were clasped behind his back. He wore a simple grey shirt. There was nothing remarkable about the photo except for the way he stood, with a balance and presence that suggested coiled strength. Wei set down her purse and turned to face her daughter. "Mei, I'm sorry, Mom," Mei said quietly. "I know I promised. I know Grandpa made me promise." Wei's eyes filled with tears again. She crossed the small living room and pulled Mei into a tight hug. "You protected me," she whispered. "You were being a shield. That's what he taught you." Mei hugged her mother back, but her face was troubled. "I broke the promise. I used it in public. Now everyone's going to ask questions." Wei pulled back, holding Mei's shoulders. "Then we'll deal with the questions together." But neither of them understood yet how many questions were coming, or how dangerous the answers would be. Mei remembered the promise clearly. She had been 9 years old, sitting in her grandfather's small, neat backyard, in the house where she'd spent every summer since she could walk. The yard was surrounded by a high wooden fence, private and quiet. In one corner, her grandfather had built a small training area, just a square of packed dirt and a wooden post wrapped in rope. Her grandfather, whom she called Ye, sat on a bench in the shade, watching her practice the forms he'd been teaching her since she was 5. She moved through the sequence slowly, each movement precise, her small body mimicking the techniques he'd shown her. When she finished, he gestured for her to sit beside him. "Mei," he said in Mandarin, the language they spoke together, "I need you to make me a promise." She looked up at him with serious eyes. "What promise, Ye? What I'm teaching you is not a game. It's not for showing off. It's not for winning trophies or impressing friends." His voice was gentle but firm. "These techniques are dangerous. They were designed to end fights quickly, to protect life when there was no other choice. Do you understand?" Mei nodded slowly. "I need you to promise me that you will only use what I teach you for one reason: to protect someone who cannot protect themselves. Not for anger, not for pride, not to prove anything. Only to be a shield for someone who needs one." "I promise, Ye," Mei said. He smiled and put his hand on her head. "Good, because the world will try to make you angry. It will try to make you prove yourself. But true strength is knowing when not to fight." Mei had kept that promise for 5 years, through middle school bullies who mocked her worn clothes and her mother's job, through classmates who pushed her in hallways, through a world that seemed designed to test her patience, until today. Until she watched Derek Thornton humiliate her mother in front of a crowd, and the promise shattered against something stronger: love. The video appeared online within 2 hours. The title was Black belt destroyed by janitor's daughter at tournament. The footage was shaky, filmed on someone's phone from the bleachers, but the audio was clear. You could hear Derek's mocking voice. You could see May step onto the mat. You could watch the entire fight, from Derek's confident first kick to his collapse on the mat, gasping for air. The comment section exploded. "Who is this girl? That was a perfect solar plexus strike. I've been training 15 years and I've never seen it done that clean. The way she moved, that's not karate, that's not taekwondo. What style is that? Did anyone else notice she critiqued his technique during the fight? Savage. Derek Thornton is a joke, always has been." By evening, the video had been shared to every martial arts forum, every combat sports subreddit, every Facebook group dedicated to tournaments and training. People were analyzing it frame by frame, slowing it down, trying to identify May's style. One comment posted by a user named Sensei Greybeard47 stood out. "I was one of the judges at that tournament. I watched that girl move, and I'm telling you, I've only seen that style once. Before 30 years ago, in a demonstration by a man who claimed to have trained under Bruce Lee's personal students in Hong Kong. The efficiency, the precision, the way she redirected force instead of meeting it. This isn't sport martial arts. This is something older, something real. Who is she?" The comment got 5,000 upvotes. And then someone else replied, "I did some digging. The janitor's name is Wei Chen. She has a daughter named Mei Chen, 14 years old. I found an old obituary from 6 years ago. Wei's father was named Jun Chen. He died at 76. The obituary said he was a retired consultant who valued privacy and family above all else. That's it, no other details. But here's the thing. I found a reference to a Jun Chen in a declassified military document from the 1970s. He was listed as a specialist trainer for a joint US-Hong Kong military program focused on close-quarters combat. The program was shut down and classified. If that's the same Jun Chen, this girl was trained by someone with serious credentials." The thread went viral. By the next morning, the video had 10 million views, and Derek Thornton saw every single one of them. Derek's dojo was empty Monday morning. Usually, the early class had 20 students, a mix of adults and teens who trained before work and school. Today, 3 showed up. By the time the evening class rolled around, only 5 students appeared, and 2 of them left halfway through. Derek stood in the center of his dojo, the space he'd built over 15 years, and felt his world crumbling. His phone buzzed constantly. Text messages from students saying they were taking a break, emails from parents withdrawing their kids, voicemails from competitors he'd beaten over the years, their voices dripping with schadenfreude. "Hey, Derek, saw the video. Tough break, man. Guess you're not as untouchable as you thought. Maybe you should take lessons from that kid." His business partner, a silent investor who owned 40% of the dojo, called and said they needed to discuss the future of the academy. Derek's hands clenched into fists. This wasn't fair. He'd been humiliated by a child, a nobody, in front of everyone. His reputation, the thing he'd spent his entire adult life building, was destroyed. And it was Wei Chen's fault, her daughter's fault. If they hadn't been there, if Wei hadn't spilled that water, if Mei hadn't stepped onto the mat, none of this would have happened. Derek made a decision. If they were going to ruin his life, he'd ruin theirs. Wei's phone rang Tuesday morning while she was getting ready for work. It was her supervisor at the convention center. "Wei, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go." Wei's stomach dropped. "What? Why?" "We received several complaints. People saying you were disruptive during the tournament, that you caused a scene. The center can't afford that kind of publicity." "I didn't cause anything," Wei said, her voice shaking. "I was just doing my job. I'm sorry, your final paycheck will be mailed." The line went dead. Wei sat on the edge of her bed staring at her phone. That job had been stable, reliable. It paid for rent, for groceries, for May's school supplies. An hour later, her phone rang again. It was the manager of the grocery store where she worked part-time stocking shelves at night. "Wei, I got a call from someone claiming to be a former employer. They said you were unreliable, that you caused problems. I can't keep you on if that's true." "That's not true," Wei said desperately. I've never caused problems. Who called you? I didn't get a name. I'm sorry. 2 jobs gone in one morning. By Wednesday, Wei had applied to 6 new positions. 3 never called back. 2 said they'd received concerning references and couldn't move forward. 1 hired her, a night cleaning shift at an office building, but the EI pay was half what she'd been making. May watched her mother's face grow more drawn, more exhausted. Wei stopped sleeping well. She started skipping meals to make sure May had enough to eat. On Thursday, Wei came home from a job interview and found an eviction notice taped to their apartment door. They were 2 months behind on rent, the notice said, and had 30 days to pay or vacate. Wei stood in the hallway, staring at the notice, and felt the world closing in. May found her. There, still standing, still staring. "Mom." Wei turned, and May saw something she'd never seen before. Her mother looked defeated. "I'm sorry, baby," Wei whispered. "I don't know what to do." May took her mother's hand and led her inside. She sat Wei down on the couch, made her a cup of jasmine tea, and then sat beside her. "This is because of me," May said quietly. "Because I fought him." "No," Wei said firmly. "This is because of him. Because he's cruel. I broke Ye's. Promise," May said, her voice breaking. "I used what he taught me, and now everything's falling apart. He was right. I shouldn't have fought." Wei set down her tea and took both of May's hands. "Your grandfather taught you to be a shield. That's what you were. You protected me. He would be proud. Then why does it feel like I made everything worse?" Wei didn't have an answer. That night, May lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. On her nightstand sat the photograph she kept there, a smaller copy of the one in the living room, her grandfather standing in his garden, his eyes calm and knowing. She thought about the stories he'd told her, the ones he'd shared during their training sessions when she was young. His name was Jun Chen. To the world, he had been a quiet man, a retired consultant who kept to himself and tended his garden. But before all of that, before he'd immigrated to the United States with his daughter Wei, before he'd built his small private life, he had been something else entirely. In the late 1960s, Jun Chen had been a young martial artist in Hong Kong, training in the traditional styles passed down through his family. He was talented, disciplined, and hungry to learn. When Bruce Lee returned to Hong Kong in the early 1970s and began teaching his philosophy of Jeet Kune Do, Jun had been one of the students who sought him out. Bruce Lee didn't teach many people personally. His philosophy was about stripping away the unnecessary, keeping only what was effective, adapting to the opponent. Jun absorbed everything, training obsessively, pushing his body and mind to their limits. And then Bruce Lee died, suddenly and shockingly, in 1973. Jun continued training, refining what he'd learned, but he also caught the attention of someone else, a joint military program between the United States and Hong Kong, designed to develop close-quarters combat techniques for special operations. They wanted someone who understood not just the physical techniques, but the philosophy, the adaptability. Jun became a specialist trainer. For 5 years, he taught soldiers how to end fights in seconds, how to move efficiently, how to strike with precision. It was brutal, practical, stripped of all ceremony. It was everything Bruce Lee had taught him, distilled into its most lethal form. And then, the program was classified and shut down. Jun was offered a visa to the United States, a quiet retirement, and a promise that his work would never be publicly acknowledged. He took it. He moved to California with his daughter Wei, bought a small house, and disappeared into ordinary life. But he never stopped training. And when his granddaughter was born, he saw in her the same hunger to learn, the same discipline, the same calm eyes. He taught her everything. Not the sport version, not the tournament version, but the real thing. The techniques designed to protect life when there was no other choice, and he made her promise to use it only as a shield. May stared at her grandfather's photograph and whispered, "I'm sorry, Ye. I don't know what to do." The photograph, of course, didn't answer. But in the morning, an answer came from an unexpected source. Ben Kawasaki had been at the tournament. He was 19, a college student who trained at a small traditional dojo across town, and he'd been competing in the adult division when The incident with May happened. He'd watched the whole thing from the sidelines, and unlike most of the crowd, he hadn't been entertained. He'd been horrified. Ben had trained under his sensei, Master Takeda, for 12 years. Master Takeda was old school, a man who believed martial arts were about character first, technique second. He taught respect, humility, discipline. Watching Derek Thornton humiliate a janitor in front of a crowd had made Ben's stomach turn. And then watching May step onto the mat, watching her move with that impossible efficiency, watching her dismantle Derek with a single strike, Ben had recognized something. He'd seen old videos of Bruce Lee demonstrating techniques, the way he moved, the philosophy behind it. May's style wasn't identical, but it carried the same DNA: economy of motion, adaptability, precision. Ben had gone home and watched the video a dozen times. He'd read the comments, the speculation, the threads trying to identify who May was. And then he'd seen the follow-up posts. Someone had posted, "Update. Derek Thornton is calling the janitor's former employers and getting her fired. Multiple sources confirmed. He's trying to destroy her life." Another post, "This is messed up. That girl defended her mom and now they're being punished for it." Ben made a decision. He drove to the convention center on Friday afternoon and asked to speak to the weekend supervisor. He explained that he'd been at the ESE tournament, that he'd witnessed what happened, and that he wanted to know if Wei Chen was still employed there. The supervisor, uncomfortable, said Wei had been let go. "Because of complaints?" Ben asked. "I can't discuss personnel matters." "Did the complaints come from Derek Thornton?" The supervisor's silence was answer enough. Ben left the convention center and started making calls. He contacted other people who'd been at the tournament, people he knew from the martial arts. Community. He asked if anyone had footage from different angles, if anyone had recorded Derek's harassment of Wei before the fight. 3 people sent him videos. One showed Derek shoving Wei's cart. Another captured his mocking voice clearly. A third showed the crowd's reaction. The discomfort on some faces, the amusement on others. Ben compiled everything into a single file and then did something that would change everything. He posted it to the largest martial arts forum on the internet, along with a detailed account of what had happened after the tournament. Wei losing her jobs, the harassment, the eviction notice. The title of his post was, "Black Belt Derek Thornton is destroying a family's life because a 14-year-old girl embarrassed him." The post went viral in hours. The martial arts community is small, interconnected, and fiercely protective of its values. When the post spread, the response was immediate and overwhelming. People started calling Derek's dojo, leaving reviews online, posting on his business page. The messages were blunt. "You're a disgrace to martial arts. Bullying a janitor and her kid? You're pathetic. I hope your dojo goes under. You don't deserve students." Derek's business partner called and said he was pulling his investment. "I can't be associated with this. You're toxic." Students who had stayed out of loyalty began leaving. By Saturday, Derek's dojo was empty, except for Tyler, his most loyal student, who stood in the center of the mat and said, "Sensei, what are we going to do?" Derek stared at the empty space, at the trophies on the wall that suddenly felt meaningless and felt rage boiling in his chest. This was Mei Chen's fault, Wei Chen's fault. And now this Ben Kawasaki, whoever he was, had made it worse. Derek made another decision, one that would be his final mistake. He went online and posted a response. "I've been accused of harassment, but the truth is that Wei Chen's daughter assaulted me at a public event. I was trying to teach a lesson about respect, and she attacked me without provocation. I've been in contact with my lawyer, and we're exploring legal action. The video doesn't show the full context. I'm the victim here. It was a lie and everyone knew it." The response was immediate and brutal. Someone posted, "Derek, there are 12 different videos from that tournament. We can all see exactly what happened. You humiliated a woman doing her job, and her daughter defended her. You're not the victim, you're the bully." Another post, "Legal action? Go ahead. Let's see how that works out when every video shows you shoving a cleaning cart and mocking a janitor in front of a crowd." And then Ben posted again, this time with something new. "I've been in contact with Wei Chen. She's agreed to let me share her story. Here's what Derek Thornton has done over the past week. Ben listed everything. The phone calls to Wei's employers, the false references, the systematic destruction of her livelihood. He included screenshots of messages from people who'd been contacted by someone claiming to be Wei's former supervisor, warning them not to hire her. The post ended with, "This is what happens when ego matters more than honor. Derek Thornton is using his reputation to destroy a family because a 14-year-old girl embarrassed him. If you believe martial arts are about character, about protecting the weak, about discipline and respect, then you know what needs to happen. Derek Thornton needs to be held accountable." The post was shared 50,000 times in 24 hours. And then something unexpected happened. The grey-bearded judge from the tournament, the one who'd posted the original comment about May's style, made his own post. "My name is Robert Takeda. I've been teaching martial arts for 40 years. I was a judge at the tournament where this incident occurred. I watched Derek Thornton humiliate Wei Chen. I watched Mei Chen step onto the mat and demonstrate a level of skill I haven't seen in decades. And I'm telling you now, Derek Thornton is a disgrace. He doesn't represent what martial arts are supposed to be. I'm calling on every dojo owner, every instructor, every student who believes in honor and discipline to cut ties with him. He should never teach again." Master Takeda's post carried weight. He was respected, connected, a figure of authority in the community. Within 48 hours, Derek Thornton's dojo was finished. His lease was terminated by the building owner, who didn't want the negative publicity. His insurance was cancelled. His website was flooded with one-star reviews. And then the police got involved. On Monday morning, Wei answered a knock at her apartment door. She opened it to find two people, a police officer and Master Takeda himself. "Mrs. Chen," the officer said, "I'm Officer Martinez. We've received multiple reports of harassment against you and your daughter. We'd like to ask you some questions." Wei's hands trembled. I don't want to cause trouble." "You're not causing trouble," Master Takeda said gently. "Derek Thornton is. And it's time someone stopped him." They sat in Wei's small living room, and Wei told them everything. The phone calls, the lost jobs, the eviction notice, the fear that had been growing in her chest for days. Officer Martinez took notes. "We've been building a case. Multiple people have come forward with evidence of Mr. Thornton's harassment. We have enough to issue a restraining order, and we're considering charges for stalking and interference with employment." Wei's eyes filled with tears. "I just want it to stop. I just want to take care of my daughter." "It will stop," Officer Martinez said. "I promise." Master Takeda leaned forward. "Mrs. Chen, I also wanted to speak with you about your daughter. The way she moved. I've been teaching martial arts for 40 years and I've never seen anything like it. Who trained her?" Wei hesitated, then looked at the photograph on the wall. "My father." Master Takeda followed her gaze. "May I ask who your father was?" Wei stood and took the photograph off the wall, handing it to Master Takeda. "His name was Jun Chen." Master Takeda stared at the photograph, his expression shifting from curiosity to shock. "Jun Chen, the specialist trainer from the Hong Kong program?" Wei nodded slowly. "I heard rumors about that program," Master Takeda said quietly. "They said the trainers were teaching something beyond sport martial arts, something practical and lethal. And I heard one of the trainers had studied under Bruce Lee's personal students." He looked up at Wei. "Your father was Bruce Lee's student?" "Not directly," Wei said, "but he trained with people who were, and he spent years refining what he learned. He taught Mei everything." Master Takeda handed the photograph back carefully, as if it was sacred. "Your daughter is carrying a legacy. She should be proud of it." "She's ashamed," Wei said softly. "She thinks she broke a promise by fighting. She thinks she made everything worse." "She saved you," Master Takeda said, "and she exposed a bully. That's not breaking a promise. That's honoring it." The restraining order was issued Tuesday afternoon. Derek Thornton was prohibited from contacting Wei or Mei Chen, from coming within 500 feet of their home, and from interfering with Wei's employment. But the real blow came Wednesday morning. The local news ran a story. Martial arts instructor accused of harassment after viral video. The story included interviews with former students, people who'd left Derek's dojo over the years because of his bullying. It included statements from Wei, from Ben, from Master Takeda. It included the videos, the evidence, the systematic destruction Derek had tried to inflict. Derek's reputation wasn't just damaged, it was obliterated. By Thursday, Derek Thornton had left town. His dojo was closed, his apartment lease broken, his truck seen heading north on the interstate. Nobody in the martial arts community heard from him again. On Friday afternoon, Wei's phone rang. It was the manager of the grocery store where she'd been fired. "Mrs. Chen, I owe you an apology. I was contacted by several people in the community who explained what really happened. I'd like to offer you your job back with a raise." Wei's voice shook. "Thank you." An hour later, the convention center called. "Mrs. Chen, we made a mistake. We'd like you to return. We're also offering you a supervisor position." By the end of the day, Wei had 3 job offers, all paying more than she'd been making before. She sat on her couch, staring at her phone, and cried tears of relief. May sat beside her, holding her mother's hand. "It's over, Mom," May said quietly. "It's over," Wei agreed. But for May, something else was just beginning. Saturday morning, there was a knock at the door. Wei opened it to find Ben Kawasaki standing there, holding a small package. "Hi, Mrs. Chen. I'm Ben. I'm the one who posted about what happened." Wei's eyes widened. You helped us." "Thank you. I just did what was right," Ben said. "Is May home?" I wanted to give her something. May appeared in the doorway, curious. Ben handed her the package. "I thought you might want this." May opened it carefully. Inside was a small leather-bound journal and a pen. "Master Takeda told me about your grandfather," Ben said. "About his training, his philosophy. I thought maybe you'd want to write it down so it doesn't get lost." May stared at the journal, her throat tight. "Your grandfather taught you something incredible," Ben continued. "Not just the techniques, but the philosophy. The idea that martial arts are about being a shield, not a sword. That's rare, that's valuable, and I think other people should know about it." May looked up at him. "I broke my promise. I used what he taught me in public." "You used it to protect your mum," Ben said. "That's exactly what he taught you to do. You were a shield. You honored him." May's eyes filled with tears. Ben smiled. "I've been training for 12 years, and I thought I understood martial arts. But watching you taught me something I'd never really understood before. It's not about how hard you can hit, it's about knowing when to hit and why. Thank you for that." He bowed, a deep, respectful bow, and then left. May stood in the doorway, holding the journal, and felt something shift inside her. Maybe she hadn't broken the promise after all. 2 weeks later, May sat in her grandfather's garden. Wei had kept the house after Jun died, renting it out, but keeping the backyard private, a place they visited on weekends. May sat on the bench where her grandfather used to sit, the journal open on her lap. She'd started writing, recording everything she remembered, the techniques, the philosophy, the stories he'd told her. She wrote about the promise, about what it meant to be a shield. She wrote about the tournament, about the choice she'd made, about the consequences. And she wrote about what she'd learned, that true strength wasn't about how hard you could strike, but about how resiliently you could stand in the light, armed with nothing but the truth. The journal filled slowly, page by page, a record of her grandfather's legacy. And as she wrote, May realized something. Her grandfather had taught her to be a shield, but he'd also taught her to be strong enough to stand when the world tried to knock her down. She'd done both, and that was enough. Whenever I share one of these, I hope it gives you a chance to step out of the everyday and just drift for a bit. I'd love to know what you were doing while listening, maybe relaxing after work on a late-night drive or just winding down. Drop a line in the comments. I really do read them all, and that's where we'll end the story for now. Whenever I share one of these, I hope it gives you a chance to step out of the everyday and just drift for a bit. I'd love to know what you were doing while listening, maybe relaxing after work, on a late-night drive, or just winding down. Drop a line in the comments. I really do read them all. And if you want to make sure we cross paths again, hitting like and subscribing makes a huge difference. We are always trying to improve our stories, so feel free to also drop your feedback in the comment section below. Thanks for spending this time with me. If this story moved you, write SHIELD in the comments. This is a story from Underdog Dojo.